Morning, Abotai. Erev Shabbat Shalom. A very relevant question in Jewish households over Shabbat is that inevitably, if you make a cholent or chamin or whatever else that you make to eat on Shabbat morning, sometimes, since it's usually an overnight cooked food, it has a tendency sometimes to dry out and sometimes start burning. So people's immediate gut reaction would be to take water from the urn and pour from the urn into the cholent pot in order to save it, whether the cholent is on a plata or it's on a crock pot. Is that permissible or forbidden? There is a sefer called Igiret Teshuvah, written by Rabbeinu Yonah Hasid. He says over there that's asur. Why? He writes that even though when the water comes out, he wasn't talking about an urn, but he was talking about a kli rishon, pouring from a kli rishon into the cholent pot, even though the water is still hot, even though it's still very, very, even boiling even, but he says once it hits the air, it loses its power to cook any longer, and then when it goes back into the second pot, it now gets reboiled with the power to cook again, and he says that is a transgression of bishul, of cooking on Shabbat. Rabbeinu Nisim, the Rana, disagrees. Says no, the water is already boiling, the water is at yetzoledet bo. The rule is in bishul achar bishul, the water's already been cooked before Shabbat, there's no cooking after cooking, and therefore Rabbeinu Nisim says that it's mutar. Nevertheless, we know that Maran HaShulchan Aruch rules that en bishul achar bishul only applies to solids, to dry foods, not to liquids. So over there, that svara wouldn't necessarily apply to us. And therefore, if you look in Shulchan Aruch, Siman Resh Nun Gimal, Saif Gimal, Maran HaShulchan Aruch says that a person should protest against those who save water in a kli rishon to pour into a burning cholent on Shabbat because of this issue that Rabbeinu Yonah raises. Although the Rama, Poskei Ashkenaz, and not only among Ashkenazim, even among many Sephardic poskim, among Moroccan communities, Agon Rav Masa says it was always the minhag to be mekel, to pour water from an urn into a drying out cholent. Agon Menuchat Ahava, Rabbi Moshe Levi, also says a few sfekot to be matir neged Maran HaShulchan Aruch. Maran Zichron Bracha says that for those who purport to follow Maran HaShulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to do this on Shabbat. It is a transgression of Isur Bishul. You can't make sfekot when Maran himself brings down the hammer and says it's Asur in this situation. Now, there are different, even according to Maran, there are ways that you can save a burning cholent. Number one, if you know that this happens often, you can take kind of like, it's called cooking bags. You can take like water balloons, fill them up with water, put it inside the cholent, and if you see that it's starting to dry out, you can puncture it, pop it, for the water to come out. The only issue is when the water comes out of a kli rishon and hits the air. But if it's already in the pot, there's no issue. So if you see that it's susceptible to doing that, fill up, put a few of these water balloons inside the cholent and pop it as necessary. That's number one. If you didn't do that, the halacha is that you can have a goy put water from the urn. Because anything that is subject to a machloket poskim, you're allowed to ask a goy to do for you on Shabbat. And finally, if you have no goy around, although there's a machloket, you can ask an Ashkenazi. Since it's mutar for Ashkenazim to do so on Shabbat, you can find your most local Ashkenazi and ask him to come and pour water from the urn, since according to the Rama, such a thing is permissible. There is no isur, according to many poskim, of amira le'akum when it comes to asking an Ashkenazi to do something for you on Shabbat. That's asur for you, but mutar for him. Have a wonderful day and Shabbat Shalom.